The clamor against galamsey is getting much louder. If you look at the data we're receiving as well, it looks like it's getting more and more serious. There was a story this morning that I read about the levels of lead found in fish, vegetables, and other foodstuffs across 6 mining areas. A study titled Mercury and Other Heavy Metal as Impact Assessment, conducted from August last year to September this year by Pure Earth in collaboration with the GEP, which is the EPA, examined soil, water, air, fish, and food crops in 6 regions. And it really came up with some very troubling results. In Konongo Zongo, for example, mercury levels in soil were over 130 times the safe limit. Airborne mercury in Wassa, Kayanko, peaked 150 times above the Ghana permissible level. Dangerous arsenic levels were found in nearly all the regions. Soils in Konongo recorded 10,060 ppm, which is 4,000% above safe levels, while water in Konongo, Edumasi, showed concentrations of 3.3 mgl, vastly exceeding drinking water standards. Lead concentration in fish from Akwaboso in the central region and Konongo Zongo surpassed WHO safety limits, with some samples reaching 2.8 mg per kilogram. Vegetables such as pumpkin leaves in western north also showed lead levels as high as 3.1 mg per kg. Mercury, arsenic, and lead were detected in contumely, tomatoes, cereals, legumes, and tubers, with some values well above international food safety thresholds. Several boreholes and streams used for drinking water were contaminated with lead and arsenic levels exceeding WHO guidelines, posing a direct risk to community health. The study warns that residents, especially in mining communities, face chronic exposure through multiple routes: inhalation, ingestion, and skin contact, with potential long-term effects on the nervous system, kidneys, and child development. The researchers propose urgent multi-sectoral action, including remediation pilots in hotspots like Konongo Zongo, using low-cost technology such as phyto remediation, air and water monitoring expansion, particularly during dry and wet seasons, community health education through culturally relevant campaigns, and stronger policy alignment with SDGs. Now, gentlemen and ladies, the major issue apart from the health risks that we pose is the economic risk as well, because we export vegetables from Ghana. We export certain food items. Now that you're having these levels of contamination, you're even going to risk bans. So you're going to have value chains, whether it's cocoa or any of the food crops that we export, going to have a lot of challenges. So the hydra-headed nature of the galamsey problem is getting clearer. And I hope that as these revelations come up, the water bodies polluted, the water treatment plants shut down, food being polluted, I hope it's giving the government the needed impetus to do the right thing beyond the political equalization that we see going on. This is a real national crisis on our hands that I think the president has to take a more serious look at.
Yes, and I continue to be disappointed with the president's statement, the specific statement on galamsey. There's a parody being created about galamsey becoming or being the source of livelihoods for the people, which, if you get to the ground, is really inaccurate. The people we spoke to, including our reporters and other journalists, suggest that there's a galamsey is taking over from the actual source of livelihood, which would have been farming in certain areas and fishing in certain areas. And that cannot be a reason to say that declaring a state of emergency will have an impact on people's livelihoods. What my expectation is that the original livelihoods, which were sustainable, should be what the government should focus on in the conversation about people's incomes or way of living, source of living. Bringing that back instead of saying that, galamsey is now their source of living, and so we cannot declare.
So we shouldn't elevate.
I think that doesn't reflect the reality. It's a parody, in my opinion. And yes, you're right. We shouldn't elevate that. What we should rather be doing is to getting back to the sustainable source of living that was already going on before galamsey.
We should use galamsey as an excuse.
We should not use that as an excuse as well.
To contaminate our water bodies and claim that people are making money from it.
Yes.
Because it's destroying everything else.
Destroying everything else.
So whilst we're talking about galamsey, we're also talking about what we can do in our country to help. And I'll be speaking to some people who have been volunteering and pushing the spirit of volunteerism. Sky, my main issue with galamsey though is that, there's a whole scientist-driven advocacy, Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, and all these researchers talking about the effects of galamsey. And I'm not sure whether that's the angle we should be using, because there's also the political angle, where over the weekend I had a lot of politicians talking from both sides, all right, comparing notes. We did better, your galamsey was worse than my galamsey, kind of thing. And I'm not sure whether that's helpful, but it seems to also be rising in the discourse. And so whilst we give airtime to the scientists talk about the effect of galamsey, in fact, some associations who are speaking are even being accused of politics. Some are being described as, where were you when MPP was in office? Why are you now shouting about galamsey and that type of thing? I've seen research documents where I'm told that there's a link between galamsey activities and specific human impacts. For example, there's a chain I was sent by an environmental scientist who, this is the heading, mercury, lead and cyanide are coming home. So galamsey activities usually use mercury, lead and cyanide in their processing. This leads to surface pollution, where rivers and soils get contaminated. So that's level 1, the surface. Level 2, there's something called infiltration and leaching, where the toxins seep underground. They go deep into the earth, and then it does what is called groundwater contamination. So first, the surface water is contaminated and polluted. The soil is polluted. Then when it seeps underground, the aquifer gets poisoned. So the aquifer is the water table. So when you're digging a well at home, you can dig until you hit the water table. Then there's water there. Now what happens is that the mercury, lead and cyanide get into the aquifer. So now if somebody is drilling for fresh water, somebody's digging a well, somebody's even looking for water to process for you to drink. When they hit the water table is already polluted. Then borehole water supply, which is supposed to be safe, is now compromised. Then you begin to have human health impacts even beyond the physical location of the galamsey. Now, we are told there's kidney failure, there's birth defects, there's neurological disorders, there's cancers, which are a direct result of the over-concentration of certain chemicals in food and water. I believe that the media should push this angle more, because this is what brings the sense of urgency we all need to fight this. I remember in October 2024, it was after the Ghana Water started complaining again about another round of problems with their processing plants that the galamsey clarion call rose again. I think this is important, because once we let galamsey become a matter of political football, MDC will say, well, in our time, galamsey is better than your time. MPP says, well, our galamsey is better than yours. That doesn't lead us to the right destination, because if you can tag people who criticize you for galamsey as the opposition, or you can start doing equalization on galamsey, the problem will not be solved in the way it ought. And I fear that if we don't take care, this very noble fight that we are all fighting to say, look, our kids are getting bed, they are being born disordered. There's so many problems from the medical side. Economically, you're going to destroy livelihoods. There's no justification for not doing the level of intense fight we should see. If we don't take our time and focus the fight, we're going to get to a situation where the politicians take over, and it becomes the usual name calling, and they like it, because for them it's the game they play. And I really worry that we may soon get the sky if we don't take our time.
Well, I think we are already there, and it is unfortunate. And let me use the opportunity to say, without mincing words, that there was nothing particularly brilliant about how MPP, executives or party kingpins went to Galamsey polluted river and held a press conference there akin to what Sami Jemfe did in the past, and they used that opportunity to demand, presidential action to deal with the problem. I think that is just, it's lame.
It's a political rule. It's the political rule book they are using, right?
Yes, but it is lame. There's nothing intelligent about it.
They
would
are,
require...
they are copying their opponents.
No, you see, it is... Because the point here is, when you were there, and pressure was on you to act, we saw how you dealt with the situation. Of course, in the first term of the MPP administration, they did an admirable job, which we all supported. But it would seem that in the second term of the government, they basically were incompetent, or they refused to deal with the problem. So they cannot now go for the rule book written by Sami and his people, and then go and stand there and telling the Ghanaian people that, oh, the water is polluted, and therefore the president should declare state of emergency. There's nothing intelligent about it, with the greatest respect. I think we require some rigor, better engagement with the issues, better demands using legislative processes in Parliament. Of course, we can get Parliament to have a hearing, demand that specific actions be taken. If it is a debate, a motion that is moved on the floor, saying that all these things that you have mentioned are things that put the Ghanaian at peril, that require that a presidential action is taken to deal with the problem. Some rigor, some sophistication. You talked about we export these things. Why, for instance, have we not heard the minority in Parliament writing to the various embassies with evidence of what you are saying? To say that, look, if the president is failing to deal with this problem, we are urging you in your respective countries, take decisive action. Ban, for instance, vegetables coming in from Ghana that we're exporting to these countries, because the evidence suggests that your citizens are not safe. Now, if we begin to feel the economic pinch, then there will be presidential action. But for now, the embassies, for all you know, don't seem to have acted in any way as to support the cause in the way that we are advocating. So it is very lame, very lazy to go take journalists to, Riverside and say, oh, let's do A, B, C, D, and then they will publish it and everybody is happy. No, that is not what we need. We need a better coordinated efforts to get presidential action. And then on the government's own side, Bernard, we have national security. The daily files that go to the table of the president, ideally will have this information. Now look, Mr. President, it would seem that increasingly we are failing to protect the Ghanaian. And if you read Article 31 of the Constitution, which deals with state of emergency, Bernard, if you go to Clause 9, the Constitution tells us the kinds of things that would require presidential action in the direction of state of emergency. So it says, for instance, Article 31(9) says, the circumstances under which a state of emergency may be declared under this article include a natural disaster and any situation, let's underline that, in which any action is taken, let's underline that, or is immediately threatened to be taken by any person or body of persons which A, is calculated or likely to deprive the community of the essentials of life. Bernard, what are the essentials of life?
Food, water, air.
Food, water, air. Now, what are we told? We are told that we cannot drink water safely these days in these communities affected by galamsey or those that are downstream because of illegal mining activities. Konyako water supply has been affected. We have seen Bonsa affected. We have heard videos, we have seen videos from these communities of women saying that all they are doing is to boil the water and subsequently drop alum in there. The experts have told us that merely boiling water infected by lead or dropping alum in it does not cure it of the toxic content therein. So there's some wisdom in demanding presidential action to deal with it, because the essentials of life, at least water, is threatened. Food. You have just read the details of the findings that have come in from the experts who have investigated.
Yes, and this includes the EPA, by the way.
Yes. Nkontomre is affected. Bayera is affected.
Everything. Tomatoes.
Mankani.
Everything.
All of these things are affected, and these are staples.
I tell you. And this is 6 regions.
And we don't have in Ghana a way of tracing where food is coming from.
That's the problem.
And how to ensure that we isolate these ones or avoid them entirely.
Everything is mixed everywhere.
Everything is mixed. You go to Agbogrochi. If you ask the people, they won't be able to tell you that, oh, this one is from ABCD.
Yeah.
Some may speculate.
That's a serious issue.
You understand? So you might be sitting in, what do you call it, Adenta or East Legon, assuming that, oh, you are far away from the problem. But you are eating lead that is contaminated food that has been brought from Takwa.
And there's also fish.
And fish. So you see, it would seem to me, with the greatest respect, that if you look at the provisions of Article 31.9, the conditions there are, in my respectful view, satisfied.
So you think national security should advise the president to take a more drastic approach?
Exactly. And if they do, they should leak the details to the media. Yes, that, oh, this advice has been rendered. Look, there are times when...
They should leak it.
Of course.
I like that. I like the
So
idea.
that we deal with it and ask the president.
National
Because
security advises president to take action on galamsey.
Yes.
This was in a leaked document.
Yes.
I like that.